Welcome back to CBS News 24/7. We continue watching President Donald Trump because he says he's going to announce reciprocal tariffs on every country with duties placed on the United States. In his words, if they charge us, we'll charge them. That announcement is set to come right before a meeting between President Trump and Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, a leader that Trump calls the tariff king. By the way, the U.S. is India's largest trade partner, but the U.S. imports far more goods from India than the other way around, and that's what we just heard as a trade deficit. In 2024, U.S. exports to India totaled about $41 billion. Imports from India totaled $87 billion. So you do the math, the trade deficit stands at $45 billion headline-making dollars. President Trump says that's in India's favor. So let's bring in Megan Leonhardt, Barron's senior economics writer. Megan, so what goods do we exchange specifically with India? Because really it's going to come down to what we get as the consumer and the talks between President Donald Trump and India and other nations.
It's absolutely true. This is really going to come down to the fine details. And of course, we are still waiting on this announcement. But when it comes to India, I think we actually get a wide array of different products. I mean, everything from textiles to pharmaceuticals, chemicals, even some things like manufacturing equipment and, the sort of heavier manufacturing pull from India. So this could affect a wide range of sectors in the U.S. And of course, we have been talking through the idea that tariffs could potentially be inflationary depending on how they're implemented and what exactly is on the table when it comes to these kind of deals. But it is one of those things that consumers do need to be keeping this in mind. It is something where we're already unfortunately seeing higher prices, both, in terms of the grocery store as well as at the pump. And this is going to make a big difference in the months to come.
So when we talk about those reciprocal tariffs and you boil it to the bones, we've said this before, you tariff us, we'll tariff you right back. How will that change this headline-making trade deficit between the United States and India? Because it is in the tens of billions of dollars. But how does a reciprocal tariff sort of balance those books, or does it?
It can balance the books, of course, but it is, again, devil's in the details when it comes down to these particular trade deals. In this case, currently we have about a weighted average of 3%, and India's imports, obviously, exports to India have, somewhere in the 9.5% range. And so obviously there does need to be a little bit of level setting, and that's what the Trump administration is really hoping for. And of course, the revenues that could be generated from this in order to offset things like those tax cuts and other, policy implementations that the Trump administration is hoping to do. But when it comes to, the actual revenues that are being generated from this, that really depends. I mean, certainly, when you do the broad math on some of this, the numbers can look very big, but what ends up happening in practicality is that consumer habits change, business habits change. And so many times the sort of estimated value of some of these tariffs in practicality is a lot less than previously expected.
Well, we know that President Trump ran on the promise that our domestic economic issues would be solved. He used to say through that magical word of tariffs. But we have people about to gas up today or about to go to the grocery store to fill a bag. How can these reciprocal tariffs really influence what we pay at that point of sale?
Well, unfortunately, economists have said, time and time again that tariffs do end up being a bit of a short-term and potentially long-term effect on things like inflation. And obviously that affects price levels that we see on the consumer level. And so we did actually see in January, inflation was a lot hotter than we expected it to be, and was actually a pretty bad sign for folks, looking to cut back a little bit on their grocery budget or, obviously, their transportation costs when it comes to gas and things like that. So we're already facing a little bit of a higher level than we were, say, mid last year. And obviously that does make a difference. Now, it's nowhere near what it was at the peak in 2022, for example. We're much, much cooler when it comes to inflation at this point. But obviously, when you do start tacking on tariffs, which essentially are levies or taxes, then that does end up making a difference because companies are getting those inputs, they're, applying them to their operating costs, and then they can pass along those higher operating costs to consumers in the form of higher priced goods.
Right, and the production index also up. Let's switch gears, but keep it down sort of where us regular people are, people who are doing those point of sale purchases. You have a great article today for Barron's. Holiday shopping The afterglow looks to be wearing off for a lot of Americans because we're getting that first bill. Earlier on, right before the Christmas, the Hanukkah, all of the holidays, we said, look, people are spending more, they're charging more because consumer confidence appeared to be up given the election. But now you're saying that people are starting to feel that pinch and that burn a little bit?
What we've been seeing actually, and this goes beyond just the holiday season. This started in 2023. It's obviously been a trend into 2024, and it seems like it'll probably be with us in 2025, is the idea that delinquency rates have been on the rise. And it was interesting because during the pandemic, when we did get those government stimulus checks, when there was a lot of, free money, if you will, floating around the economy, we saw delinquency rates and debt go way down. People were paying down their debt. They were paying off their credit cards. They were doing all the right things, which is really good news. It makes everything a little bit stronger and a little bit more resilient when the unfortunate, obviously other shoe hits the floor, if you will. But what we're seeing now is because savings are a little bit less, because people are continuing to spend, those delinquency rates have risen above pre-pandemic levels. And that is a little worrying, but it is good news to some extent that even though we had an incredibly robust holiday season, the overall total debt was pretty good and delinquencies were okay.
All right, informing that conversation when you go for a date. You paying your bills? Thank you so much for having that conversation with us today.